Hello guys, this is Juan. Welcome to your third web application development tutorial using Witty and Witty Designer. Today we're going to start a slightly more complex project. Now, before we start with this project, please make sure that you have installed the latest version of Witty Designer. At the time I'm recording this tutorial, the latest version is version 1.0.2. So how can you check your version? Well, just open Witty Designer and go to the Help menu, click on About, and then here you will have the version of your Witty Designer. If you want to get the latest version, you can go to the website sourceforge.net/projects/Witty Designer, and then just make sure that you download the latest version. Before we only had a Windows version of Witty Designer, but as from 1 week more or less, we have also a Linux version for 64 bits. So you are welcome to download and install any of those two versions. I can also make a Mac version. If you guys are interested, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's start. Let's make a new project. Now, this project, I don't want to make it too complicated because we're just starting with Witty and Witty Designer, but I also would like you guys to get a taste of what is the development flow for a web application project. So let's make something simple. Let's make a calculator. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a project, a new project, new, and then I have this default template which has a button and a text. We have seen this before. I'm gonna delete the button and the text, and now I'm gonna add a container that is gonna contain, of course, our calculator. So I'm gonna change the ID of this container. I'm gonna change it to calculator. Now in this calculator, I want to have a, let's make this actually smaller like this so we can have more place for our Witty object tree. In this calculator, I want to add a line edit which will display the result of our calculations. And there are two ways to add the widgets. The first way is, of course, to drag it, but sometimes it's very difficult because the container that is going to have these widgets is very small, and you really have to go there and catch it. But there is also another way. You can just click on the widget, on the container widget that is going to be the parent of the new widget. In our case, it's going to be calculator, and then you just go to the widget object list and double click the item that you would like to be added in that selected parent. So I'm going to double click the line edit, and here it is. So our line edit has been added to calculator. Now this line edit is going to contain our result. So I'm going to rename this to result. And it's going to contain only numbers. It's going to show only the numbers that we input and the results that we output, and it's going to be numbers. So I'm just going to leave an default empty text of 0.0. That's it. Now in this calculator, we also need buttons to display the numbers of the calculator and the operations, of course, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and so on. So I'm going to display my calculator using a grid system. So in this grid, I'm going to have rows and columns. So I'm going to add a new container for the first row. So I'm going to click the parent, in this case calculator, which is the container, and then I'm going to add a new container. And this container is going to be my first row. So I'm going to rename it to row 1, like this. And now inside this row, I'm going to add my first 4 buttons. So I can select it, make sure that it's highlighted in red, and then go to push button and double click it. 1 button, double click, 2 buttons, double click, 3 buttons, double click. 4 buttons. So now we can see that the buttons have been added. My first button is gonna perform the operation of cleaning everything. So I'm gonna put CE as text. I'm gonna rename it accordingly, button underscore CE, because we have to remember that these ID names are going to be used in the C++ code to address these items individually, so we better name them in a meaningful way. Now I'm going to use this second button not to clean everything, but just to clean the current number, so I'm just going to put C, and then I'm going to rename it to button underscore C. And then this third button, I'm gonna use it for just deleting the most recent entry that I have put. So I'm gonna put something like this to, I don't know, just a symbol to let know the user that this is gonna delete just one value or one number. And then I'm gonna use this button, the fourth button. I'm gonna use it for division, and of course we could, as a symbol for division, we could use something like this, and then just rename our button underscore div. But I like better another symbol. I actually like this division sign better. So if you go to the website www.asciicode.com, you can find a table, a really big table of the ASCII codes for certain characters, and then if you go to number 247, you will find the division sign. So we can go here and actually go and copy, and then put it here, paste. Now, this user interface does the job, but doesn't look very nice. Like if you look at it, we have this line edit which is spanning the full width of our viewport, and the buttons are just like there, like they're not taking the same size as the line edit. So I don't like the way it looks right now. So how can we fix it? Well, if you go to the menu and click on settings and preferences, a new window will appear, a dialog which has these different tabs. We have seen these ones before. Now I would like you to go to the theme tab. In the theme tab, we will see that we can define the title of our web application. I'm going to call it calculator, and then you can also define the theme. Now by default we have this Bootstrap theme 3. This is the most recent and most modern theme that it is shipped with the Witty library. So I'm going to leave this by default, but just to let you know that you can select all these different themes. Now this Bootstrap theme, it's a very popular theme, but I think it's what is the name of it actually? Bootstrap. I think there is a typo there. I should correct that. It's Bootstrap. If you go to the website of this Bootstrap, which is getbootstrap.com, you will see that this is a website that is a framework, a CSS JavaScript framework that is very widely used to make web application nowadays, because it works very nicely with all kind of devices, like mobile devices and tablets and laptops and desktops, and it has a lot of features, and so Witty uses this on the background. So we're going to leverage that to make our web application looking better. So let's go to this website, getbootstrap.com, and let's click on components. Now in components we will see a lot of things. Here on the right we have a kind of a side menu which tells us all the components that this framework has. We're interested now to improve the look of our button, so let's go and click here on button groups, and let's find something that we would like to have on our web application. So let's just click here, OK. Let's make this right. Maybe let's just um, improve this a little bit. I'm gonna close this for the time being so we can have space for our web application of our object tree. So we have these buttons here. These buttons actually have the HTML tag of button, and the containers actually have an HTML tag of div. So we have now something like this. We have a div, which is this row, and then we have buttons. Here we have all these buttons. So now we have this situation in which each button is on the left here, and it's not taking all the place that it could have. So let's look here if we can find something that resembles what we're looking for. So this more or less looks like what we would like to get, but if I scroll a little bit down here, I have this section which says how to achieve this when our elements have button tags, which is our case. Our elements have button tags. So it says here, to use justified button groups with button elements, you must wrap each button in a button group. So here it says that you must have an outer div, which would be our row, and then for each button, so here is each button, 1, 2, 3. For each button, we must wrap it with another div. So for us, what it means, if we go to our object list here, what it means is that we need to add, for each of our existing buttons, we need to add a container. So I will add a container now, and then I'm going to rename it similar to the specific button, and then I'm going to click the button, then I'm going to go to edit, cut, so I'm going to take it out from there, and then I'm going to click the target parent, which is the container C_CE, and then I'm going to put paste, and then it's gonna be pasted here. So we can do this, of course, also if I add another container for the C button and then we name it, we can do the same operation with the keyboard shortcuts, Control X. I'm gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna click the target container, Control V, and then I'm gonna get the same result. So I'm just gonna click the row again to add a new container so I can finish the remaining two buttons. I'm gonna click this, cut, I'm gonna click target, paste. I need to rename this container DEL, and then I'm gonna add the last one, last container. Now rename it container underscore div of division, and I'm gonna click the division button, Control X, and then click the container div, Control V, and still not looking the way that we want it to look. So we need to make sure that the class that are used in these examples are also used in our example. So the outer container has the class button group justified, so I'm just gonna click it, and then here on our Witty object property editor, I'm gonna click style class, and then I'm gonna paste and button group justified, and then it says that the inner div should have a class of button group. So I'm gonna select it, Control C, copy. Then I'm gonna go to this one, style class, Control V, paste. I'm gonna do the same for the rest of the containers. Paste. And let's see. Wow, now this looks so much better. Now our buttons are taking all the size, all the width of our web application, though it looks much better than before. Now maybe you are asking yourself, so now we need to do this for all the rest of the rows? Well, there is a trick, very nice trick that we can use to save ourselves some time. But before I show you that, let's save our changes. So I'm gonna go to the desktop and save my project as calculator, save, And now let's do the rest of the buttons. So I'm gonna take this row and I'm gonna again go to the edit menu, copy, and then go to the target parent, which is gonna be the calculator container, and then I'm gonna put edit, paste. And now I have a second row. Now the second row, it's a copy of the first row, so now I can just go and rename and fix everything. I want now this button to be the button for the number 7, so I'm just gonna call it button 7, and of course the container is gonna be container 7, and then in the text of the button I also should put a 7. And now the second button is gonna be an 8, so I'm gonna change the text to 8. I'm gonna rename it to button 8. I'm also gonna rename the container 8, and then I'm gonna do the same for this one, but this one's gonna be 9. Put here 9, button 9. This is gonna be now our multiplication button. So let's go again to our ASCII code table and let's find some symbol for multiplication. Oh, here's the multiplication sign, so I can just select it, copy, go to here, text, Ctrl V, paste, and then I'm gonna rename this as mult from multiplication, and also rename the container. Okay, so let's do this. We also have other rows to fill in, and now I'm gonna show you even another trick. So now, before we took this row, went to copy and then went to the target parent and put paste, and then we had to go through each of the elements and rename them. So there is another way to do this. I can actually also go and copy the row, and remember last time I told you that it would be handy to have a text editor, and actually I'm gonna open it and I'm gonna pin it to my taskbar because I'm gonna be using it a lot. Now we copied here this row, so if I go to my text editor and now I click on paste, I'm actually gonna get some XML code. So this XML code is actually the XML code that describes everything that is contained by the element that I just clicked. So I see that it has actually the row and all the buttons and all the containers. So I can actually also do it here. I could go and, I just want this now to be the row number 3, and then I would like this container to be the number 4, and this is going to be the button 4. I want the text to be 4, and then the same is going to be here for 5, 5, 5, then 6, 6, 6, and here this is going to be our subtraction button, and I'm going to replace this one with the subtraction symbol. Then I can go and copy this text, click on the target parent, which is going to be the calculator, and paste it. And now we have pasted our third row. So it's up to you, whatever you prefer either doing it directly in Witty Designer, or if you are, a hardcore programmer and you like to do it directly in here, whatever you like the best. So in my case, I'm gonna continue here. I'm gonna call this the 4th row, and this is gonna be number 1, 1, 1, gonna be 2, 2, 2, gonna be 4, 3, 3, 3, and this is gonna be addition. I'm gonna put here the plus symbol, then I'm gonna get this text, copy, go to the target, paste, and we're only missing one more row. So let's just go back, and I'm gonna name it row number 5, and then this is gonna be the plus minus symbol, but I don't have it on my keyboard, so I'm gonna try to see if there's something over here. Let's see this one. Here, plus minus. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna call it PM from plus minus, and then the text is gonna be this plus minus, paste. I'm gonna paste it, and then the next one is gonna be the 0 number, 0, 0, and then the next one is gonna be the dot. I'm gonna call it dot, and the text is gonna be a dot, of course, and then last one is gonna be the equals. I'm gonna put the equal symbol. I'm gonna copy the text, I'm gonna go to the target, edit, paste. Okay, so now we have our full calculator. Although the layout is nicer than before, still is not convincing me. So what can we do about it? All right, so first of all, the buttons, I would like them to be more colorful, I don't know, cheerful. Let's see what Bootstrap has for us. So Bootstrap has these colors. Oh, it seems to have very nice colors. The default color is the one that we have right now. If we look at it here, this is the default color, but it seems to have other colors. So what are the colors? We can actually right click one of these items and then just put inspect, and then it's gonna show us where are we? Where are the buttons? I think just some space maybe. Here are the buttons. Okay, and apparently this is the class that defines this color, and it says button primary, drop down toggle. Now if we go to any of our buttons, it just has button with label, button default. So I think the color is this button primary. Let's see, for example, this one, inspect. It says button success. So indeed the difference here is this is button success, is the green color, and this is, if I click to this one, this is button primary. If I inspect this one, this is button info. So the colors are related to these names: primary, success, info. I like my buttons to be button / primary. So if I go to this button on the right in my Witty Designer and go to the style class, I can actually put btn / primary, and then the colors change. Oh, great. So then I can go and copy this button primary value. Let's expand our Witty Designer again, and then go to all the buttons, and then just put it there. One by one. Maybe we could have saved some time if we would have styled our widgets, our buttons from the beginning, so on the copy paste all this information would have been copy pasted automatically, but you know, that's something that some stuff that you learn on the way, so it's part of learning, it's part of getting to know this framework. So the very first time that you do something, you maybe work extra, but you learn, so the next time you don't commit the same mistakes. So that's why I start always with something simple, such as a calculator, and then I start building up on complexity for the next projects. Okay. So, okay, let's see our button 0, and then our button dot. And for the equals button, I want to make it different. I think that the green color was button/success. Okay, so now it differentiates from the other ones. Okay, now we know that we're using Bootstrap, and there's something else I want to achieve actually with the line edit. I want the text to be right justified. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna look on Google for Bootstrap 3 align right text. Actually, I'm not a Bootstrap ninja. I always have to Google stuff, but if Google is your best friend, if you just Google what you want, Google will give you the results. And here on the result on the question on how to align our text, we can see that we can actually align it however we want, like left, center, justify, no wrap. I want to align it to the right, so I'm gonna click this class, go to my result line edit, and then I'm gonna append as a style text right, and there it goes, our text is on the right. Okay, so this is looking good, guys. What else do we want to do? I think that the numbers and the text are actually very small. So in order to fix this, well, let's save our progress so far. Let's just click on save. And now in order to change the size of the text, let's go to view and let's click on style sheets list. And now a new element appears here in our Witty Designer tool, which is the style sheet list, and you can just double click this and it's gonna open on the default editor for this kind of file, .css file. So I'm gonna create a CSS rule in this main CSS file for, let's say, for our buttons. So I'm gonna create a selector for all the buttons. So if you know CSS, if you know CSS, you know that everything that starts with a dot, it selects any element that has a class of btn. So we know that all of our buttons have the class btn. So with this selector, we're targeting all of our buttons. And then I'm gonna put font / size. Let's put 30 pixels. And then file, save. Okay, now let's refresh. Now our text is now way bigger. I think it's more visual. Now we can see it easier, like the user can see it easier, but our line edit is still not showing the same size. So we also have to target our line edit, but we're gonna target our line edit by ID name. And in CSS, if you want to target an element by ID instead of by class, we use this symbol. I don't know. I know that is the Twitter hashtag, but I don't know in English how is it called. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna put the ID of the line edit, which I think was result, and then I'm gonna open brackets. I'm gonna close brackets, and then I'm gonna put font size column 30 pixels. And I also want to make it a little bit larger, because as you can see, the buttons are large, but the line edit is not too, on the height is not on the same size as the button. So I'm just gonna make it the height a little bit larger, let's say 50 pixels. File save, and then here I'm gonna reload, and now it looks much better. I don't know what you guys think, but I think now it looks much better. So let's see how it looks on our different devices. So now on the mobile looks good, but as we increase the size of our devices, like a tablet, now a laptop, this does look very good. It takes the full screen, and although it's easier to see, I would like to leave some space on the sides and to just center it. So let's click the root container. I think a good thing to do always is to set the style class of this container, the root container, to container, which is also a bootstrap thing, and it leaves some small size on the left and on the right, but it's still not good enough because I think it's still spanning a lot. So we will need to write some CSS class for our calculator itself. So we want this calculator to have a maximum width. So let's go back to our main.css, and we're gonna add a rule to target specifically our calculator item. So I'm gonna put calculator, and then I'm gonna write down that the max width, it's gonna be 600 pixels, and then I also want the margin. I want a little margin on the top, margin top of about 15 pixels, and then I want the rest of the margin to be calculated automatically. This is CSS stuff. I hope you guys know some CSS, but if you don't, I'm gonna leave on the video description some tutorials on YouTube that you can watch to learn how CSS and HTML work together to style your web application or your website. And you're gonna learn what I'm doing here. You're gonna be able to learn it from those videos. It's really simple. Like, if you know how to program C and C++, HTML and CSS and JavaScript is just a piece of pie. It's super easy. So I'm gonna leave you guys the references so you can look at them. Again, it's very, very simple if you already are a C programmer. Okay, so I wrote down these rules. I'm gonna refresh, and now it looks much better. So now it's centered. Like, even if my screen is very large, my calculator is right here in the middle. And if my device in my screen changes, it still keeps that size, very decent size. So let's see how it looks in our Chrome browser. Remember that if I go to my loopback address, oops, what's going on here? Let's see. Oh, it's 8081. Okay, here's our calculator. It looks pretty good. I like it. So I think that's gonna be it for this video. But of course we need to save, and I'm gonna export it to CMake and just make sure that everything is working. So here I have my calculator, and as if you haven't seen the previous tutorial in which I showed you how to create a Visual Studio project out of the Witty Designer project, you can just go back and watch the first and the second tutorial. So I'm gonna put a source, the calculator folder, and I'm gonna put as target the newly created game project, and then I'm gonna click configure, Visual Studio 2013, finish, and then it should be populating now. Then I'm gonna click generate, then I'm gonna open the solution. I'm gonna click the calculator project. Oh, what happened? Oh, it seems I need to sign in. Okay guys, I'm gonna do that on the next tutorial because apparently Visual Studio is not letting me work without, signing in or whatever. So I'm sorry about that. But I hope you like this tutorial, and if you missed something, please let me know in the comments. And on the next tutorial, we're gonna continue with this calculator. We're gonna implement the logic behind it, and I promise you that Visual Studio is gonna be working by then, I hope. So cheers guys, and see you on the next video.